what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Aries EDC. Today we are checking out these two knives from Pickled Steel. That's right, the budget-friendly Pickled Steel. If you guys haven't heard of what Pickled Steel is doing, please go to the website in the description of this video and check out what they are doing. So, what we have are two blades. Now, these are both prototypes, I believe, or at least I know this one is a prototype, and then the slip joint might be available at this time, but they have different versions of these. But let's talk about the slip joint. This is the this is a prototype, uh, and absolutely ridiculous. So off the bat, if you're a follower of this channel, you know I'm not much of a slip joint guy. I'm just not much for slip joints, but this thing is pretty stinking cool. So I just want you to look at all of it. Take it all in. There's a lot there. You have the engraving on the bolster and then the heel of the blade where the lanyard hole is. You have the abalone resin. Then you have whatever the gold material is. So you have the gold and the abalone resin along with the turquoise, like true stone turquoise. How interesting is that? That is pretty darn interesting. There's a lot going on. Now, this isn't the only version and the only color. I think there's a couple other colors, and they're all kind of has these nice layers in it. And it's just a shiny marvel. You have this polished out, and I believe the the steel wasn't listed on here, but I feel like it was 440C is the blade steel on this, and it is a full-sized slip joint. That is for sure. In a minute, I'll show you guys some size comparisons on this, but man, that is a full-sized slip joint. And the walk and talk is not terrible. It's not a bad pull, very medium pull, nice half stop, a complete perfect 90-degree half stop, and closes very nicely. The pull again isn't very hard. You got plenty of blade to grab a hold of. You have the nail nick, and again, very easy to manipulate and to move the blade. And you have plenty of blade length on this thing. So let's look at that real quick. Where'd my ruler go? One thing with a polished blade, man, fingerprint magnet. So let me wipe that off again. This is a pass around knife, so if you see any scratches or anything, it's just because it's gone through a bunch of hands. All right, so let's check this out. This is overall 8 inches. So we're looking at an 8-inch overall slip joint. From the tip of the blade, you have about 3 1/4 of sharpened length, and all the way to the front of the scale is just about a little over 3 1/2. So that is a full-sized blade for sure. Let's look at some size comparisons real quick. Here is the slip joint versus a Rat 2. Never thought I'd see a slip joint bigger than a Rat 2, and there it is against the Civivi Elementum. So it gives you an idea of the size on this one. And just for the heck of it, let's do versus Arpera 3. It's actually longer overall than Apera 3, which is funny. But yeah, this is definitely a full-sized slip joint. If you're talking slip joints, this is going to be a full-sized blade. So a really cool offering. I don't know what the price of these are going to be, but knowing Pickled Steel, it's going to be a very reasonable price. So let's put that there and talk about the next one, which is the Armagrati. So you have the Armagrati. It is D2 and G10. So you have a D2 G10 budget-friendly blade. This one is flipper only, but I was told in the notes for that this is not only going to be a flipper, but they're going to add thumb studs, and they're also going to change the profile of the blade just a little bit, make it a little bit taller. So when they do that, it's going to give it a little bit more length right in here to add the thumb studs, which is always a cool offering to be able to have multiple deployments. But man, really cool. Nice size, 4 fingers, but not too big. Definitely the handle to blade ratio seems a little off. So if they just were to adjust that height just slightly, that would definitely fill this out a little bit better and make it awesome. So that is going to be pretty cool. You have the flipper, and one of the things they're also going to add is a little bit of jimping right here on the flipper so that you have something to grab a hold of. The action is good. It's probably nice and slicey, and it's done very well for a budget blade. You have a deep carry clip, but not recessed screws, so the screws are not recessed, and as far as I could tell, it is not reversible. So I don't know if the production version is going to be reversible, but the clip is actually kind of interesting what they did here. Keeping it at an angle is kind of interesting. So it is deep carry. I wish they would have recessed the screws, but other than that, a very nice offering from Pickled Steel. I mean, this is a very straightforward blade. Again, D2 steel, flat grind, nice swedge at the top, and I look forward to maybe getting a hold of this in the regular production when it finally does come out. So this is the Amalgati. So that is pretty stinking cool. Let's look at the size on this one. Um, Overall, we are, I gotta straighten that out. Look at, again, we're just a little under 8 inches. So we're just under 8 inches and a 3.5 blade length overall. About just a little over 3 5/8 of a sharpened length. So not a bad sized blade. So you have a nice size handle, and I'm looking forward to definitely changing the profile of that blade a little bit is going to be definitely a winner. So that is pretty cool. Let's look at some size comparisons. How about that versus the Rat 2? Obviously, that thing is going to be a little bit bigger than the Rat 2. And the Civivi Elementum, again, much longer than the Civivi Elementum. And then finally, but certainly not least, the Para 3. Again, nice handle. Handle length is about the same. Obviously, it's a different profile in the handle, but the blade's going to come out a little longer on the Amalgati than it does on the Para 3. And I hope I'm saying that right, but you never know. So, Amalgati. I don't know how you would say it, but there it is. All right, let me move this out of the way. So what do you guys think? The Amalgati and the slip joint. Which one would you put in your pocket? I don't know. That's kind of a tough choice. Probably, I think I would go Amalgati. I'm just not a slip joint guy, but this thing is a beast. That is for sure, and extremely comfortable. Definitely fills the hand. It's not going anywhere. Probably a great cutter. But a fingerprint magnet, geez, look at that. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. I hope you appreciate this one. Please make sure you give Pickled Steel a check. They're doing some really cool stuff. So thank you guys so much. Please remember, subscribe, like, leave a comment, or not. That choice is always yours.